Tonight I'm gonna feel alive, and no one won't be acting nice. So baby, go and start a fight. I'm in love with the city lights. Look, I'm enough of a big star. I got my girls and I got my cars. Come on here, baby, be a buzz. Do whatever you want. Unlock your shop. We're about to pop. Whatever I do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up. La la la. Let's stop, won't stop. Unlock your shop. Whatever you do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up. Today I found
Recording in progress.
it's everything I've never heard.
Okay, we're being recorded. Yeah, if you want to wait, yeah, you're not.
All you do is make people around you damn worried. I know it might sound just a little bit corny. Now I know where I stand. Don't even have a plan. Unlock your shop. We're about to pop. Whatever I do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up. Let's stop, won't stop. Unlock your shop. Whatever you do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up. Just like royalty, someone's too. It's time for you. Just do whatever you want. Unlock your shop. We're about to pop. Whatever I do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up. Let's stop, won't stop. Unlock your shop. Whatever you do, not up to you. We gotta shut this up.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Well, fine.
You know, even try to. Nobody can match you. Don't you for life. Sexy mind and body.
All right, we got a good show going up. We got Moonsday Cast starting in 4 minutes. 4 minutes. The green room's hot. We're ready to go, folks. Just assuming I'm not muted. Yeah, we're on our way here. Let me see. Welcome back to DojoEarth. It's time. I was muted. I just explained a lot of things to you that we're doing a show now. I tell you, this mute button.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moonsday.
Hey, Charlotta.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hey. Hi, James, too. We've got a full house tonight. Kristen, Debbie, Cass, or Speedy Lee, Angela, Adrian, Nancy. Tonight, we are going to delve into the realm of dreams, as all of you ladies know. When we talk about dreams, we think that they only are the dreams that we have when we're sleeping. And I want to share how I think they're very connected. And once you tune into one, the other blossoms. And I will share a story that can kind of lead that into it. When I was a little girl, my household wasn't so kind. It wasn't a pleasant place. So I learned very quickly to disassociate and go into my own realm and create my own realms. And I spent a lot of time in the woods, and I spent a lot of time in my room, hours and hours. I would just disappear. And when I would come back to and go to bed, those dreams that I made during the day and waking hours would come back. The first dream that I remember really well, very young age, was a witch that would visit me. And we sort of became friends. I was scared of her, but I was very intrigued. And it got to the point where I would wake up scared, but yet she would be standing by my bed with my eyes wide open. And I would call for my mom and I would scream and I was freaking out. And however long it took my mom to get to the bedroom, she was there. And as soon as my door opened, she would just fade into herself, leaving only a golden outline. I couldn't understand why would she disappear so that my mom couldn't see her? And I realized over just a few years of this happening that it was me making this happen for whatever reasons at the time. But she was a woman that was visiting me, somebody that I had met in the woods. Sometimes she would appear very realistic. Sometimes she would appear as a Fisher Price toy, like the little people toys. And this went on for a few years until the last time she appeared to me. She was the little Fisher Price witch, and she brought a young child with her, and she was hand in hand with it. And my take on this was that she wanted me to go with her, and she was telling me that it was okay. It was like, oh, I have this innocence here, and she's safe and she's fine. And I that was the last time I had that dream. I kind of made peace with it. But with all of that being said, it's my point here is that I learned very early on that my waking time that I spent and what I thought about directly fed into my nighttime dreams. And so I grew up very much secure and able to recognize my dreams as a guide. So I do think that things become more peaceful in your life if you can find peace deep within yourself and you're willing to face the night and integrate those shadows into your daytime.
That was
So,
beautiful.
oh, thank you.
Oh my goodness. How cool is that? What a wonderful experience too. And just to have the insight is amazing. And I agree with you, Charlotta. I think, well, I didn't really learn that, what you learned, but I did learn that my dreams told me things that were either going to come, or sometimes they were so like, so much vitriol, so much, and I wouldn't even say fear. It was just like shocking. Some of the things that I was shown were shocking, literally like would wake me up out of sleep. But anyway, all that to say that just to know it's all connected, and
Right.
yes, and
So
it goes both ways. I think I wish we could remember sometimes so badly, and I think maybe we will eventually, the next generations or whatever, but your story was just lovely, and it really was powerful. I felt a lot of power in that. Thank you.
I'm wondering, when you say that it's shocking, what do you think is happening there? You're saying you weren't scared, but it was shocking. So
well, maybe there was some fear there with a couple of them.
well, yeah.
So my earliest dream that I remember, it was a reoccurring dream, and it was probably between 6 and 10, because my dreams changed significantly. But anyway, I dreamt I couldn't open my eyes. And now in retrospect, I'm like, gee, I wonder if that was what we call here our first eye, our third eye. I like calling it our first eye personally, because I do think it's our first eye. And I just had, that was a nightmare. I couldn't open my eye. I could not keep them open. And I just wonder if that was just, I remember that's, to today, that just used to really alarm me that I couldn't keep my eyes open. But anyway,
right.
When
So
I was
sleep paralysis. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Charlotta.
No, I was just going to say that's like sleep paralysis, but maybe just with your eyes. It's like, don't see, it's holding you back from.
Yes. Yeah. And then they just became, I would love to hear from someone else too. I just remember that it was just so powerful to have a reoccurring dream too. You know what I mean? For being so young, and I didn't really know. I do think it meant something about that I wasn't going to be able to see the way that I did see, that I can't remember, but I had the freedom like you did, Charlotta. we were out at dawn and back, I mean, it was just like, we just had for years. And I just was always in my imagination and riding my bike to places I wasn't supposed to. And just, being very, challenging myself and exploring. I love to explore. And that hasn't changed now. It's just different.
So maybe when you were dreaming of not being able to open your eyes, you weren't able to find something to look at that you wanted to see.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's so intriguing. Like, we can go anywhere with this topic.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's limitless.
I can really relate to what both of you said, because I've had an extremely active dream life my entire life. And I feel like a lot of my waking life has been me trying to unpack my dreams, because I do remember them. I remember them vividly, and I remember them from childhood. I remember them from just many years. They usually come, the recurring dreams will come over a period of time, like a 3-month span or a 6-month span. And what I've discovered is that, at least for me, sometimes we're not always supposed to know what they mean. And some, they're multifaceted, they're layered. And sometimes 10 years later, you unpack and start to realize what that means, or you have a synchronicity or an aha moment where it kind of synthesizes in your mind and everything starts to make sense and connect. And letting go sometimes of trying to figure them all out, it has its own power, I think, because then you're allowing for that serendipitous moment to come through where it registers again in your mind, and then it makes sense. And one dream I had that's very similar to Charlotta, I think we have a lot of parallels. I feel like the more
I think so too.
we talk. So throughout my life, in my dreams, I've had a cloaked figure where I couldn't see their face that reappears to me. And it was like a dark, for a long time, I thought it was an evil or a dark figure. And in the past few years, I started doing some meditations where I was working with going back in time and communicating with my younger self. And I started to wonder, I think it's me visiting me.
Yes.
My dreams, and giving myself a hint or a nudge. It's going to be okay, or you're going to make it through this, or whatever, even though it didn't make sense, or maybe it was my future self observing me. But I know I was like the me now, I can feel present as a child. And I think maybe I didn't want to reveal, what I looked like or what that was going to be, so that it allowed for that imagination to unfold however it was meant to, without being tainted by an image.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least for me, that's kind of my current line of thinking with that particular dream, because that's the one reoccurring one that just shows up sporadically once.
It's like the quintessential shadow.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's very literal, in my dream. And I think it was that way because the childhood me, could see it and not judge it and just be like, oh, okay, hi, what's up?
Who are you?
Exactly.
And then the shadow replies, you will know soon enough.
That's really interesting that you say that. I had a dream about a year ago that I was running around this giant stadium, just running in circles. And then there was also someone chasing me, but I was also having to fight through a crowd. And it was only like a week later that I realized that I was every single one of those entities in my dream. I was the person chasing me, I was the person being chased, and I was the people getting pushed around in my way. And I was the person over there that didn't care about any of it. And it was a super interesting way to see it all.
That is a very interesting way, because so many times we want to put the blame on something else. I think that if you can look at it as anything that you experience is only going to be from your own experience, right? So
right.
it is all of us. And just like somebody would say that other people are a mirror to us. Absolutely. And the minute that you take that in and realize that you are all of it, it's just so fascinating.
It really is.
You know, when you start listening to other people talking about their dream life, you realize that it's so subjective, you know, it's like what dreams are for one person is very, it could be very different, you know, for all of us, because they're ourself, you know, they're aspects of ourself. And whether we're all the parts of the dream or it's such a huge topic. Because I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I've had all these different kinds of dreams in my life. And what sticks in my mind, or what comes out first when I think about dreaming, is what I would call a big dream, like big dreams. And I got that
What's
term
a big dream? Yeah.
from a long time ago, reading about the Iroquois. And that's what they would call a dream that was of great significance. Like they were really into, you know, using dreams in their, you know, what people would dream, especially certain people, would have a bearing in their day-to-day life, and they would talk about their dreams and such pretty much on a daily basis, if what I read is true. And so a big dream would be something that would be profound and that would have probably a pretty, you know, a large ripple effect for the tribe, or maybe for a person. But I'll just mention one big dream that popped into my mind when you mentioned the topic of dreaming. Was I was in a relationship where I felt like I was stuck, and I had been feeling stuck for about 3 or 4 years, something like that. And I was in my early 20s, and it was just very hard for me to create a new life for myself. And so anyway, one night I had a dream that I was dressed like Little House on the Prairie, you know, like one of those kind of dresses. And I was standing in this beautiful green field, and the wind was blowing my hair and my dress, and I was all, you know, like little old House in the Prairie girl.
Laura Ingalls.
Yeah, and the wind was coming from the west, and then suddenly it stopped blowing, and then I felt so sad and deflated, and the words that went through my mind that I remembered forevermore was, "The west wind has stopped blowing." And to me, you know, it was just a knowing that the west wind was like some spirit, and I'm not sure why the west wind, you know, that direction, but it was like the spirit, the, you know, the life that like my spirit was suffering, and it was tired, and it was, you know, in oh, sorry guys, I just got out of work.
No.
I'm telling you. You know,
I want to go into the West. I mean, that's interesting because, you know, westing, death, dying, the end, sunset, however you want to see it.
yeah, and I felt like my spirit was in danger of, you know, being like going out. And
So you were giving up, maybe.
And it was very shortly after that I was energized completely to get out of that relationship. But I'm pretty sure it was that dream that was the turning point. It was a big dream, you know, and it was from a deep part of myself, or, you know, I don't know how else to say it, but it changed my life. And the energy, there was so much energy, and, you know, it was just so vivid. And
My question is, was that more of a premonition, or was that, you know, was that kind of giving you a release? Like, okay, this cycle's coming to an end, and now new beginnings are on the horizon.
Yeah, it was a recognition, and then it was an energizing dream in some way, even though in the dream I felt so sad and, you know, just really, like I said, energyless and stuff. But it was, you know, the danger of that, my becoming that way, like I could see it, that's what was happening to me. So I was able to change it. Somehow that dream energized me. So that it was remarkable. I'll never forget it. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience. I've had so many other different dream experiences, but I'll just leave that one there for now. And then later talk about more, but yeah, big dream.
I'd never heard of big dream, but I knew that, or I know that a lot of dreams, I will just have a feeling. For me, a lot of my dreams are just simply a feeling, and the imagery will come in, but I can feel transitions through my life just by how I'm experiencing the moment. But there are those dreams, Debbie, like you're saying, that really just punctuate life, that just, I mean, they are making a transformation. And if you recognize it and see it and hang on, well, actually, if you hang on to it, no, I mean, they actually don't leave you. And I'm sure that you guys have had some of those kinds of dreams, all of us.
I've had a lot of death dreams, speaking, in line with what she's talking about. Like, I would say a large number of my dreams have been about death. I feel like I've even died in my dreams. And I think it's true what she's saying. Like, it's so incredibly powerful. And when I started lucid dreaming a few years ago, those dreams started to make more sense to me, especially with how we interpret them in our waking life. And I was thinking about this today. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie Divergent, where the girl is injected with the serum where her dreams can be seen by others and she has to pass a test. Have you seen this?
I have not.
I have, Angela.
So she's injected with the serum where her dreams can be seen by others. And she has to follow, like, for example, she's submerged in a tank of water. And to pass the test, she has to go about it in the most, the way her people expect her to. Like, she has to take off her jacket and plug up the pipe that's pushing the water in, and that's how she breaks free. But she's really illuminated, or divergent is what they call it in the movie. And her natural tendency is to have this, lucid moment where she realizes this isn't real, this is a dream. And so she just flicks her fingers on the glass and it just breaks, right? And that's how my lucid dreams are. It's like I'm swimming and I'm drowning, and it feels like it could be a death dream. And then I realize this isn't real, this is a dream. And then I can play, then I can swim freely. I can let go of all of that anxiety and stress. And it makes me wonder, can we do that in our real life? Like, this is a dream, this is all a dream, and how do we, cross that bridge and bring that magic into this realm?
That was a question that I posed for myself, thinking about like different topics to veer off onto, before I just said, we'll wing it. But that was one of the things. Like, I literally wonder how much of my waking life is less real than my dreaming life, because I feel like my dreaming life actually feeds who I am, or it's showing me closer to who I am. And then when you can realize that you actually have the ability to manipulate your beliefs and your experiences, perceptions, however you want to say it, you can then start to twist how you react in a very, it's a subtle way, but it's even not so subtle. It's extremely, it's moving, it's huge. I think that's why this topic is so important for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's also why it's important to daydream. I think, at least for me, I feel like as we get older, we stop daydreaming. And I think there's a lot of insight into allowing yourself to just naturally drift off into a daydream, because that's going to take you places. And I feel like it's very aligned with, our nighttime life when we allow ourselves to go there, but our minds are so active and we're so busy during the day that we don't often do that unless, we're in the shower or driving in the car. And that's why we tend to have those similar moments during those times we're in a more relaxed state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with you, Charlotte. I feel like this is the dream, our waking state. And then, who we really are is, where we connect when we dream. But so when I shared that reoccurring dream, the first dream that always comes to my mind, my first shocking dream, was I was 10 and I had a dream that there was like this big fireball light in the sky. And that was all. Nothing about that was scary, but it was the next night when it was in the summer and we were playing kickball outside. The whole neighborhood would do that kind of stuff. It was so fun. And that light like appeared. It was the same exact thing appeared in the sky, which that is what scared the hell out of me. And I'll never forget. I probably ran the fastest than I ever have. And my dad was my go-to because he just always had an answer, even if it was just making something up, it didn't matter. But NASA was actually like doing some rocket stuff or something that night. And all I remember was I tried to get him to understand, well, I saw this last night. They just like, they just kind of, well, it was just a dream, so, but then that was just.
Right. And I think this is why it's so important. I mean, you obviously were tapped in. I mean, and that's what we're doing when we shut all systems down, all physical systems down at night. We're tapping in to the greater consciousness. And so why wouldn't you see that? And I think those who are even more connected or maybe have the channels a little bit more cleared, that's how I see it. I could be wrong. These things present themselves, but we're also quick to want to discredit any kind of idea that comes from a place that can't be touched. And that's one of my biggest complaints about our world.
I think my most memorable dreams have been the ones just like were just talked about, where it kind of came true. I think then because it's been validated in some way. Like I had one once where I woke up. It was one of those things where I woke up early, but I thought I was late. And so I woke up. I mean, it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 in the morning, and I was in high school. I'll date myself here. And my mom was there, and I woke her up, and she's like, "What?" I go, "Mom, I'm late." And she's like, "You are not." And I go, and it was the day that the news came out that John Lennon died. But I had told her that he was already dead. It was like, it was the weirdest thing. So it was like, I knew that ahead of time. And then recently, like a couple years ago, I had one where, as I hardly ever remember my dreams, but I had one where my friend, who I was in a spiritual study group on a weekly basis at her house at the time, but I had a dream. It's like the dream attendant summons me, and I went to her, and she was in a cabin by a watery, cold lake, and she braided my hair, and I don't know, we just sort of interfaced. And that next day I found out that her son had killed her, had been having stabbed her and killed her. But it was like I was so tuned in and with my senses. It was almost like like I was an antenna for that information somehow. So it was a strong message, and it was strange that I even remembered that I had that dream with her until I got the news like that day.
Wow.
That had happened.
Yeah.
So those, yeah.
It's
So it was
the
like such a loud
connections that
message.
the connections that we have with those near or dear, or just even maybe what we're feeling passionate about in the moment. It's as though you can't be, we are tapped, I believe that we are tapped into everything all at once, but our filtering system is going to only pull in those that are close to us, our immediate concerns. And
I don't know, John Lennon. I mean, that was just I don't know.
yeah, that's
Was
true.
I tapped into the radio
But
wave?
that's a pretty
little bit
big
over
one. Yeah, that's
time?
like, that is universal, right?
I don't know, but it was there. I was in the ethers or whatever. It's like I had that information and I snapped into my body, but I thought I was late. I already thought that it was later in the day, maybe when I should have known that.
Damn it, you could have saved him.
Well, whatever. But it was like, it was just weird that I didn't even I wasn't oriented to what time it was. With this other dream with my friend, I just woke up. It was just sort of a dream. It was like, wow, I wonder why I remembered that dream. I'd hardly ever remember dreams. And, it turned out that she was, communicating like through my hair. We had talked about the meaning of hair in dreams. There was a story that we had, it was
But you had
in the
talked about
Baha'i
dreams
faith.
before with her?
Well, there's a story in one of the writings that we were studying. The prophet of the Baha'i faith is Baha'u'llah, and when he was little, his dad had a dream. I don't remember the whole story, but his dad had a dream that his son was in this water and the hair was kind of out radiating from his head like sunbeams or something, is how I picture the story. But at any rate, it was significant. He went to the dad went to to the, I don't know, not the fortune teller, but whoever interprets dreams in Persia, and was told that he'll have a significant life or something like that. At any rate, the hair, we had gotten into a conversation about the hair, and it's kind of is the antenna anyways. But so I think that the communication came to me with that symbolism and just using different archetypes maybe that we had talked about in the past, just maybe it was a story, and I don't know, I must have been very connected with her. I think that maybe just, I don't know, through the celestial waters, whatever it is that tunes your antenna.
I wanted to be a death doula for a good while. I still would consider doing it. And so I was really paying attention and finding videos of people.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, I was just going to say this really quick. Her, I haven't talked about it much to people, but her body was dumped by her son in a lake, and in a cold lake, like where the dream attendant took me. So, and that wasn't found out, until like 2 days later by me, and more of the facts. But yeah. Wow. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
No, that's important, because that's the point I was going to get to, is that people that, if you're caring for someone on their last days, I know you weren't caring, but you know what I mean. You create a bond and a connection. And so many of these doulas were talking about how when the person did pass on, that they experienced them in a very real way within their own realm, outside of giving care to the person, not in their home, but at their own home. And then it would always appear in some fashion that maybe they had discussed. So there was a sign or a signal between the two of them. So I think that's important. And I think that's also sort of how psychics would work. You know, you create your own language, your own symbols. And so while archetypes are important, maybe not so much for me because I just haven't studied any of it because I have my own little language, but you know what I mean? It's
Right. I use that term real loosely. Like I have my own archetypes too.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's no way of avoiding the major ones. It just is what it is. But yeah. So, and that brings me to something else that I think people want to have their dreams analyzed by someone else. And I just don't even know if that is entirely possible without sitting down and really talking to someone for a good amount of time so they kind of get to know you. Because we all, you know, what a cat means to me could be something completely different to you. So if I'm dreaming of a cat because I love them, it's different than somebody that's been scared of cats their whole life. So it's important for us to each know and understand where we're coming from and what feelings we have about things. I mean, but most people, well, I won't say most people, but it feels like a lot of people don't even delve into that. How do you feel about things? How do you feel? Anyway, I don't mean to get off topic. So sorry.
No, I agree, Charlotta, but I do think that having some sort of an objective insight, I think it can be useful just because, you know, sometimes we're so inside our own self and our own head that we need a little bit of objectivity to kind of help us bridge and then find that gap. Not always, but I do think there are times where that can be useful.
Absolutely. I feel you. We're here.
Yeah. And when Kristen was talking, it made me think about dreams I have sometimes that I've kind of haven't had one in probably a couple of months. And I'm just curious. So this whole idea of like soul groupings, I wonder about that because I have these dreams sometime where there are people that I no longer, you know, I'm connected with, people that I barely knew, people that I met once, people that I had long-term relationships with. It's the weirdest hodgepodge of randomness. And it's like in my dream, these people meet up and we're having a meeting. Like everyone knows each other and we're in this place and it makes no sense at all. And I'm like, why? And people I haven't even thought of, seen, that have, you know, no reminder of that day, nothing that would make, you know, that I could try to, you know, make sense of from the logical mind. And I'm like, why do I have these dreams? And why are all these people, why are we having these meetings and what's going on? And so I don't know if any of you have ever had a similar experience, but it's one of those dreams where it just leaves me with questions and I just have to say, okay, I don't know what that was about, but that was interesting.
I have not had anything like that, but I will analyze it for you. Just kidding. No, to me, it's like what came to my mind was that, like, sometimes I feel like I'm so in different parts of myself and different parts of my life are so compartmentalized as well, you know, so both internally and externally, you know, it's like, I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes. And within this one life that I'm living now, and trying to bring it all together is really hard for me. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember back to when certain parts of my childhood. I mean, I have random memories and such, but to get a sense of me being who I was all along is really hard for me to do. And I feel disconnected from parts of myself and people, you know, like bringing all these people together. So that dream that you have is a really nice way of like integrating, you know, at least this is how I see it, you know, have them all come in for a meeting, you know, or it's, did you ever see that Fellini movie. I can't remember the name of it, but the end of it is like amazing. He's got all the people in his life, all the characters, the town whore, his father, everybody that he saw when he was growing up, and he's got them all in this big parade, and they're all parading around, and it's, oh God, I can't remember the name of the movie, but if anybody can think of it, it's a great, it's just like watching his life and all the people parade before his eyes. So it's kind of like that to me. You're having that nice meeting with all these people that aren't really connected in real life together. Anyway, that was just the thought that came up for me.
But they are all connected. And when you talk about your life sort of being discombobulated or not, being able to put it all together, it's almost like, why would you? Because that would be your logical brain coming in and trying to make sense of it all. And
True.
I think it's better to, for me, I think it's better just to let it all kind of flow. And if you can let it flow, I think some sort of higher wisdom comes in. And it's the same with dreams. Whenever you can let go of expectations, or you can set an intention, a tiny little intention, but let go of expectations, and all of this wisdom starts coming through. For me, anyway, I love dreams. I love them. It's so important. And even during waking hours. But
I agree with that, but I do think sometimes there's a lesson, just like we have lessons in life we learn.
mm-hmm.
And those are the times where I find myself seeking an answer, not when it's just my kind of daily dream life, but when I see a pattern in my dreams, I start asking myself, is this pattern playing out also in my life? And what is showing me that I can delve deeper into to correct or, change a belief about, in order to not continue down this cycle or this loop. And usually when I start asking those questions, even if I don't get an answer, that's when the recurring dream will stop. It's like, okay, I've reached a pivot or some sort of a shift where I don't need to see that anymore, and I can let that go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I get lost in my own daydreams. I'm over here just like, feeling the moment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I understand.
I think, dreams speak directly to, different parts of us than when we're just sitting here trying to analyze things, in our day to day. I tend to be pretty analytical. So it's nice to have a direct, dreams are like a more direct language to different parts of ourselves that are harder to access, maybe deeper parts of our emotional center, or however you want to look at it.
No words, right?
Yeah.
There's no words necessary. You start feeling your gut. Like, how did I feel when I dreamed that? How am I feeling that in my daily life? How is this coinciding? Like, I don't even necessarily care about the imagery. Like, how is this making me feel? And why is this feeling coming up in me? And how does it represent something in my walking life? Then, pretty much hone in on what the fuck you need to do. Excuse my language. Sorry.
Right.
No,
I'm the same way. Yeah. When I go to look at a dream, I'm trying to remember what I felt like, not like you said, not necessarily just the visual, but what was I feeling? And that's often a lot more important than what's actually happening in the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very direct knowing, like that one dream I was talking about, that was transformative because it spoke to whatever parts of myself I was not able to speak with consciously. I got direct messages and direct energy somehow from that dream. And then I'm not kidding you, it was just within a few weeks that I started changing my life after that. So yeah.
I love that.
I do too. I'm
Okay.
all about the ending for the new beginning. It's so cool, Debbie.
So for so long, I thought my dreams were coming from outside of me, right? I mean, for decades, okay? It's just been in the last like 10 years, we're going within, I'm exploring what does that really mean? And so when I had like this epiphany that, oh my gosh, my dreams were like me, but it was always God. I mean, I always gave God like, because I guess that's who we are connected to, right? All the time. We just don't always in this body feel it or remember it, or I don't know. That's just why we're here. We're here
I just like to say, I am God.
to. Well, how about source, where we all come from? Do you know what I mean? Like we are all extensions of this, for me anyway, this amazing beloved source. My word for name or whatever is just beloved. And so it's given me, it's just become more personal since I've found out that, oh, this is like coming from within me. There's a whole other connection going on subconsciously and etherically, and it's just been a blast. I've been having a lot more fun. But I do want to share. So I don't know if some of you remember, but my dad passed away. He finally left. It was a month ago, and he did it completely naturally at home. It was a beautiful time to be with him. It was so many experiences, you know what I mean, with just watching him decline quickly, and then he even knew it, right? Anyway, and I know I have people who have passed that come to me. They visit me sometimes. One time I asked my cousin to come, and she did.
Nice.
But I don't usually ask. I don't know. I like to see what's going to happen, just to see what's going to happen when I go to sleep. But anyway, I went off on a different path there. But so yes, all this is just now reinforcing that source, that God, that just made everything, and that everything is just a part of this amazing.
Nancy, did something incredible happen with your dad? Did you get to see him pass? Did you watch that?
No one was with him when he actually passed, but but like the time that he passed, yes, there were like several of us, my cousin, so we all kind of have dreams in the family, and some of us have been open enough to share about them. And not really with dad directly. It was interesting to see him. I mean, he was definitely afraid at first, because I guess I don't know what an interesting experience. He just went peacefully. He was at home, and he wasn't on anything except for he had like this little bit of anti-anxiety my sister was giving him, because he would get this frown, and I just can't imagine the vitriol,
Yeah, we assume that frown means something
terrible, and it was just wow. Just
death is so fascinating to me, because I feel like it's crossing back over into that dream realm. So
yeah.
And if you do spend time around people dying, they have all sorts of what we would call hallucinations, and they're
he's been having them.
Sorry.
Well, he's been having them for years now. So he was 97. Yeah, he started seeing people who have passed years, maybe like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. But he did share he was seeing angels, that angels were coming. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, that is cool.
And he knew he goes, I know I'm going. And it was just, he was just a very precious human being. His cup was always half full. He just had amazing presence about him. And I haven't really talked about it at all, just because I can talk about it now. I mean, he was like the closest person to me ever, except for my kids. But my sister's 73. She just lost her dad. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have our parents for so long. So
Well, you have a really bright outlook on it, but I do feel for your loss.
Oh,
and the
thank you.
physical.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was the first week was even energetically was interesting. But let's go back to the dreaming, because this is like one of my favorite topics too. I'll be quiet.
No, please don't be quiet.
Well, you
Yeah,
know
that was so
I'm done.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I thank you so much for sharing that. That's intimate, and I appreciate it.
Mhm.
So,
Sometimes when I'm going through a particular rough patch in my days, occasionally I'll have loved ones in my dreams, or sometimes even the animals that have passed away. And I know that I'm always just super elated after dreams like that, getting to see those people. I mean, they're not interacting with me, how they did when they were here with me, but just to still see their smile in a movie type setting instead of just a playback in my head or just in a picture. I always love those dreams.
yeah,
For
you
sure.
get that full feeling. I mean, I think I have a lot of those, Adrian. Sorry. You took me off into my own head. Sorry, I'm gonna try to.
You're welcome.
Yeah, those are so fulfilling. And I love those too. I have those with about my grandmother and my cat that died. But I was thinking too, when you were talking, I had jotted down just before this started. I was like, what kind of dreams do I have? And because for me, I feel like I have these categories of dreams. And so I'm just curious if you guys kind of break yours down like this. Like, I feel like I either have a dream that feels like some sort of a memory, be it a past life or ancestral, or I have a dream that's some sort of a message, like a premonition or a download. When I have a premonition or a download, that's when I usually wake up at the witching hour and jot things down. It's a very specific and different kind of dream. And then sometimes I have a dream where I feel like I'm just calibrating stuff from the day and I'm just kind of processing information.
Oh, for sure.
And then there's like astral dreams where you have a point of connection to a place or a person. And then all of those for me can be lucid. And I've, in the past year with me and my lucid dreaming, I've noticed as I start to wake up in the morning, I have visions and I can see, often it's golden, like symbols and numbers. And I'm aware of it and I'm awake and my eyes are closed and I can see there's something coming through, similar to like if you have have done amanita or ayahuasca or some sort of substance. But then the more I try to focus on the image, the more I can't see it. And then I wake up out of it. So I don't know if any of you have those types where you're starting to wake up and there's something coming through, but then it's not always clear. Like I can't write it out. I can't draw it.
I have all those kinds, Angela.
Same.
I do. Some are premonitions, some are like, yeah. And just so like even out of this world, I dreamt that, and I know I was actually learning about galaxies, if all that's true. I'm hoping that some of that is true. And that they're paired, that they all have like a mate and they do a dance and they come, they go apart or they come together. And I think that has something to do with that Kali Yuga cycle kind of or whatever. Yeah. Or when they're apart, consciousness is, really like in deep in the pit. And then when they're closer together, our consciousness, whatever. And I had a dream that this constellation met and it was happening. And I'm sure I was hearing it, but that the Milky Way or the Andromeda was the cores were going to be like meeting or connecting for the first time and blah, blah, blah. And I had this galaxy, like, came in front of this other one, and I heard like a voice that said Ancient of Days. So weird, but it wasn't. But it rocked me because I like woke up. Angela, you said sometimes they just wake you up. I woke up and my body was against the backboard of my bed. It was like that energetically, like, what the hell just happened? And it was right around the time, I don't know, 2012. I don't even pay attention to this. I like feeling the frequencies, but I don't really pay attention to where everything is as far as cosmology and everything. But anyway, that was like, so I have stuff like that, and it just comes out of nowhere. And I do think that, and since then, right, the world has just been changing. Not that it hasn't always been changing, but for me, it just seemed like it was like a big, things are going to really be quickly evolving or something. But anyway, I don't know where that came from.
Well,
I
no,
just
but
all
you
your
were,
dreams, Angela. I have too. I think that is so cool. I'll be quiet.
you don't need
And
to
I
be
say that
quiet.
with love. I'm not saying that because I don't want to. I just love to hear from everyone too.
That is an amazing experience you had there with,
Yeah.
that's like cosmic.
Yes,
know?
and I've had a couple of those. Oh, it's so. But see, and the more I'm open to believing that,
Yes.
I don't know. It's like I'm not good at articulating. That's why, James True.
You're doing just fine. You're amazing. Keep going.
Oh, well, he is able to articulate feelings I have, or like, how, like you were saying, Angela, you'll have a feeling, but you can't really pinpoint what, and he'll be able to, like, oh my God, that's like what my feeling feels. Anyway, and it's just,
That's poetry.
it is poetry. And I just feel it. And this, ever since I've been tuning into, but then it's the community. I had a week near Christmas where Sarcastic Warlock, I had a whole week where I was thinking, that's the scripture kept coming to my mind about, in him we live and breathe and move and have our being, meaning, God. And he actually was like putting that on Telegram. I'm hardly ever on these social media platforms. And the one day I'm on it, he put that on there. I'm like, this is like so freaking cool. We're all subcurrently connected. And I have so much excitement about all that, because however this looks, I just think we're all going to get to spend some time together, whether it's here or, where we come from.
We are.
And
Yeah,
that's why
we're
it's
connected.
so freaking cool. Oh, anyway.
Oh man, what you said, Angela, about I think you were talking about between sleeping and waking, right? Did I get that right? You were having these dreams that you were describing
Yes,
between,
like
yeah.
kind of that bridge moment, that in between place.
I think that time has great potential for us to get a hold of things that are hard to get a hold of sometimes, and normally. And I don't know, this is a small example, but I haven't had anything like really profound at that time, but I can paint in my mind images of things that look just like the things in real life at that time. And it's the only time that I can do that. It's like if I try to visualize right now, say what a gorilla looks like, and then, like in order for me to paint that, it would be really hard. I'd have to look at a picture of it. But at that time, between sleeping and waking, when this happens, it's like I can just think gorilla, and it paints itself right in front of my eyes. And then I'll switch over to go through all the animals. And it's really fun to do that. It's like a really visual, like I'm in touch with my visual memory or something like that. So that's my experience at that time. And I think it's got a lot of potential. I haven't done it in a while.
That's your theta state. And we all have it and we all go through it. It's that place between going into a true sleep in your waking state. Some of us unfortunately do it while we're driving even, or actually, Angela, I think you mentioned being in the shower. that can be that theta state where you're just so engulfed in your own dreams and your own fantasies that you can bring all of that to mind. It's funny because a lot of people can't get there on call. And I feel like it's important for us to learn how to get there naturally, intentionally, because that's where the wisdom is. That's where, like you said, Debbie, you may not be able to paint it. Well, that's a skill. You would just have to really, really practice it. But for some people to even get to that state at all, it's difficult for them from that waking, that mind that's just running, the monkey brain just going. If you can get past that in waking time and let yourself go into the visualization, that's when the wisdom kind of seeps in.
Well, that's what's been happening on the Dojo radio, on the airship, with James. Like I don't know if, I think some of you were there, but the airship, and the idea of getting a sailboat and all the, he's painting this whole picture in poetry, and then everybody in the chat is like adding their little, their emojis and their little pictures and their little poetries, and it's really cool to see. That was like, for me, I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like that before. It was like a group imagining, led by James, and imagination. Since we're talking about imagination and visualization, which is such a big part of dreaming, but this was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that's kind of, I don't know that I led us well into that idea. And I did not catch the first hour of last night's. I don't know, Debbie, if that's what you're referring to, but I came in late last night. But the idea of transitioning, being able to hold that state while you're awake, the visualization, I've had so much open up to me after I started realizing that I truly had control over what I created simply by knowing it was going to happen. It's tricky business. It's hard to get there. But if you can find that feeling in yourself of what it is that you want, and then dream about it, like in a waking state, an intentional state, it's incredible what can happen. And dreams reflect this, because, the lucid dreaming would be a perfect tie-in, because when we lucid dream, we realize we're dreaming, but yet we can then control where we're going with it. What do we want to happen? That doesn't have to just be in a dream state. That can and does happen. Unfortunately, I think the people that it's happening for, they're not talking about it because we can't even talk about dreams, right? I mean, we're not even allowed to talk about seeing our dead father come and give us a big hug without people freaking out.
Mm.
But
well, I was just going to say, you described that really well, Charlotta. That, that's like manifesting, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I think so.
I think so. And I think for me, how I work with that is, I think it's one, and I don't know where I learned this over the years, but one, I learned that it's really important to kind of put away your to-do list in your mind and in your subconscious mind before you go to bed at night. And one way to do that is with a gratitude practice. So you can write down or think of 5 things you're kind of grateful for that day. And it kind of just helps, appreciate something and, oh, you got this done, you've accomplished this. You can kind of relax that, monkey brain a little bit. and it helps you calm and start to get clear, and then you can work with your higher self and ask a question. And I think it's really cool to get really clear and ask a question before you go to sleep, and watch how that manifests and comes through in your dream state. And especially when you wake up in the morning, like when I have that bridge in the morning, I never want to reach for my phone at that time. The birds I can hear, everything is so crisp and clear and bright, and like that is the perfect time to set that intention and or write down, if you can remember your dream, what happened, and allow that bridge from the other world to also be an intentional bridge into the world that we're moving into for the day. And if I do that, and when I do that, my day is so much more magical. And I'm driving down the street this morning because I've been getting up really early, and I've just been feeling this sense of awe and overwhelm and like beauty, almost, just like in your dreams when everything is so vivid and undescribable, like there's no art that can be created that can bring forth that same experience that we have in that dream state. But I think it is possible to move that into our reality, and it's fun to work with and try different things. And I think it's so important to do that right before bed and right when we wake up in the morning. And
yeah, I agree. And I think that it's just a matter of giving reverence to that and understanding that it is essential if you want to, whatever you visualize, if you want to bring forth what you want, you have to get really clear on how to know how to bring it forth. Oh, that sounded terrible.
No, it didn't.
You'll know what I'm saying.
We can all relate, Charlotta.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I lost that. But it to the manifestation thing, why I think that dreams are incredibly important is just recognizing we have them, why we have them, giving them credit, and then realizing how to use them in waking time. Because if we want this world to be better, for me, it's very important that I don't focus on all of the bullshit. And I mean, I teeter on like deciding how much bullshit I want in. And do I even want to laugh at the bullshit? Do I even want to poke fun at it? Not really, because I just fucking know it's bullshit. And I don't really care to dwell on any of it, because I'm over here making my life. Like I'm making my life how I want to see it. But I don't think that you can get to that place until you understand that your reality is your perception. And anyway, this is a difficult one for me, because I do teeter and I say, well, should I be the warrior? Should I go out and try to change the world? Well, really, no. I should really just try to understand myself as best as I can, and not with words, not with some kind of script of how things should be, but me literally getting into my core of who I am and saying what is important for me in the next couple of moments.
I'm with you. I think that's more powerful. And then I think also praying for others, your family. I do think when you think of others and are grateful for them. But yes, I love what you just said. Absolutely.
But Charlotta, you are a warrior when you do that.
You are.
So because most people never have the courage to do that. So so don't throw away the archetype of the warrior as something you're not, because you don't feel like, because you have a predetermined view of it, because doing that inner work is so powerful. And that is the warrior, like doing the death work, going to the underworld, all the things that you're doing. I mean, it's so powerful. So yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do here. Maybe haphazardly, but I'm trying. Like I'm trying, and I do want other people to understand how important it is that you get in touch with yourself in whatever ways. So thanks, y'all.
And look at you moderating this, you brave soul,
Oh.
warrior goddess.
And these conversations are great because a lot of stuff that's unclear to me, it gets cleared up as we talk, and these conversations really help a lot. All of them.
They do.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, speaking of the warrior archetype, I keep having throughout my life, I've had these dreams where they're almost like test dreams. Like I'm being tested, like my bravery and my ability to withstand tremendous pressure and fearful entities. It's like a form of lucid dreaming in a way. Because it's kind of it feels like I'm fully awake when it happens. And it's, I guess the most recent one that happened was I had I swear to God, I thought I was awake and I had my window cracked and this entity flew in and it was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet tall. And it was like a Rumpelstiltskin kind of figure, kind of a troll kind of a figure. And this thing came to my left side. And to me, the left side is like in Castaneda land, that's where he talks about death is always over your left shoulder, which is also the West in my mind when I think of West, which is interesting. That just occurred to me. The West wind, the left side. Anyway, so he came to my bed and started jumping on my bed. I couldn't fully see him, but I could see the imprint of the bed going up and down, right a foot away from where I was laying on my left side. And it was terrifying. And so I'm like trying to grapple with my fear. This was all about grappling with my fear. And so what I did was, in real life or in my dream or in both, I got on my knees so that I was equally as tall as this entity. And I started like pretending like I was jumping up and down, but it's hard to do on your knees, but you can make the bed go up and down. So I was like in tandem, pacing him. And then at some point, I made the sign of the cross, which is really strange. It's not something I normally do, but he flew out the window where he came from. But it was like this really, it was really made a deep impression on me. It was so real. And then I've had other dreams like that too in the past. That was just the most recent ones, but like 3 hags, like
That's powerful.
standing.
Jen.
Yeah. So
That's very powerful.
I
Sheesh.
feel like fear has been a driver in my life. So it would make sense knowing how, the experiences of my life that have really affected me. A lot of them were very fearful. And so it makes sense that I would be using my dream or half dream life or lucid dreaming in order to work with that.
That's incredible.
That is.
It is absolutely incredible.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, my perception, some nights I go to sleep and I'm like, all right, mofos, bring it on. What you got? Like I'm, when I'm feeling really solid, it's like, all right, I bring whatever you have. Come on. And I will poke and tease at whatever these darker things are. And just to try to further myself. So I think that's what you're doing. I mean, you're like you said, you're facing your fears, you're facing them head on.
Yeah, you're absolutely, that's a lucid dream. I've had a very similar experience where I was it's almost like I was on a consult, but I was in the dream world. And these people are like, welcome. And I go in this door and there are all these people sitting at the table and they're like, have a seat. And I sat at the head, you know, of the table. And they're like, are you ready? And I was like, I'm ready. And of course, this is after years of working with, similar to what Debbie shared, because I had a lot of fear dreams. And then this, like, I don't know, it was kind of like, it was supposed to be really terrifying, but it kind of reminded me of like, what's that movie where Ghostbusters, kind of reminded me of that creepy thing in Ghostbusters. And it's just coming at me and it's like right in my face. And it's like the wind is blowing and it's like trying to scare me. And I just remember looking at it and I was like, I'm not scared of you. And I was like, be gone, shoo, like I cast you out now. And I remember but a lot of times throughout my life, I had those night terrors or those times where I was frozen. And it's like I finally, you know, started passing the test. And then once I started passing the test, then other people are like, help me get this thing out of my house or whatever. But it was all in this dream world, in this dream state. And I also have had, like, I've had like psychic readings and also dreams myself where I feel like the Grim Reaper is over my left shoulder. So it's really interesting that you said that about the left side, because I never thought about that. But it never feels scary. It always feels protective, you know, and it made me think, okay, if it's not my time, it's not my time. And when it's my time, it's my time, like whatever, you know, like, because I've always felt very protected. Like, I don't have to be scared of this, or I don't have to be scared of that. Everything's going to work out exactly how it's meant to work out. But there's this protective thing, but it may just be like in my imagination, you know, I may have created this to make myself feel protected or whatever, but there's something happening.
Wait a minute, like imagination. What is imagination, and what are the, you know, like me in my childhood, my imaginary friends that I created through my Barbies and through the witches in the woods and all that? What is that? But it's real. So
Angela, you reminded me of a dream that I had. It was very similar with the table and the people like before you, but I was in front of a panel of bureaucrats, which for me might be my greatest fear. They were like 10 of them and they were all wearing suits. And I was going before them for them to make a judgment on me. And, or they were asking me to do something. It was nebulous what that thing was. And I remember getting very like emotional, and I said as loudly as I could, I just screamed no at them. And I started sprouting feathers and I ended up turning into a bird, and then they all like cowered in fear at me. And it was like me learning the power of saying no or standing up for myself in front of what for me was one of the scariest things I could imagine.
oh, wow.
Wow, I love that, Speedy.
Really? Sheesh. Got some powerful women here. Seriously.
You know what that reminds me of? In one of the Harry Potter movies, they have to pass this test with their wand where they have to face their greatest fear and the whatever it is manifests. Do you guys remember that? And I'm just like, oh my God, that's exactly what she's talking about. Like, it's like, maybe that's what really happens in our dreams, is our greatest fears manifest so that we can face them and then overcome it in our real life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
So
that.
Deb, I also want to say, and this is just, don't dismiss the sign of the cross. I mean, it is an ancient energetic symbol that, you know, I can't articulate what I feel it is, but I think it does represent, you know, just the pureness of spirit within us, you know, who we like. I see it all the time with my grandkids. It's the most precious time to be with my grandkids right now, because they're just purely from where, you know what I mean, from where we're talking about. And so anyway, I have a wide range of like connecting to that place, because they're just wonderful. And I forget why I started to say that.
Well,
The
the sign of the
cross. Yeah.
Yeah,
the cross.
Joseph is that. And I'm not saying that for fear. I'm just saying it's a beautiful symbol, I believe, energetically, and of the cross that we're all on. But it also represents, I believe, who we really are.
I totally relate. I mean, I love the cross. It's just not, I don't normally cross myself,
But
as
in that
a
cool,
practice.
something inside you knew, or
Mm.
it was in you somewhere.
Mhm.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I've got a big old cross from, I don't know where, Haiti, I guess. It's made out of copper or something like that. And it's like hammered and it's on the wall on the right side of where I sleep. Um, but yeah, I don't know. After the dream, I was thinking, I crossed myself. And that's what you see in the vampire movies. So I think that's where I got it from. Oh,
Well,
I'll try that.
More likely.
it's a protection.
Yeah.
It's you guarding yourself or acknowledging yourself.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of symbolism.
Well,
More
it's
than we realize.
I think that, Nancy, when you said it's energetic, I feel the energy from that. My daughter's grandparents are Catholic, and I didn't go to a Catholic church until I was 16 or 15. I had to stand up in a quinceañera, and I was just amazed at the ritual that went on there. And the sign of the cross freaked me out bad. I was like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. I'm not subscribing to this right now. But as I got older and I watched their grandparents and I mean, saw it from other places too, but I started to feel like I wanted to join in at dinner before we ate, after we said the blessing. Like I felt it. It was for me, it was a protection and an appreciation for what's before me or something. I can't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this has been wonderful. I don't know how long we go to.
We've got about 40 more minutes.
Oh, great.
Nancy,
Okay.
are you cool with that?
I am.
All right.
Thank you.
What's cool about this too is I noticed that if I put it in my mind to pay more attention to my dreams, they pay more attention to me. They come up with, I mean, it is me, but my dream life gets very vivid and rich, and I don't bother writing anything down in a journal or anything like that. I know a lot of people do that, but if I intend to have dreams and pay attention to them and talk about them like we're really talking a lot about our dreams here. It'll be interesting to see how our dream life shapes up tonight,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
mine.
be fun.
Yeah, just even talking about the topic over the last few days on Telegram enriched my dreams. Just my awareness. I've had better dreams in the morning and stuff like that. I guess but they're not really happening in my sleep. They kind of just happen when I'm half awake. But anyways, I'm a lot more aware of them.
I was going to touch too on, someone was talking about the radio show last night, which I didn't get to hear it until this morning. It's different listening to it at 5 a.m, but about James talking about the boat and everything. And that's called dream weaving. And so I've done that in small groups with other people. It's like when you weave your dreams with others and you share them in a way that you're being supported and heard, then it's like weaving the dreams together, and it holds that space for things to manifest and come into fruition faster, or to take you to the next idea or the next thing that helps get where you ultimately are meant to be anyway. And I just think, so I love the idea of dream weaving, with others. And because a lot of times we hold our dreams so tight that we're scared to share them, because what if it doesn't come true, or what if whatever. But by allowing that to, be heard and felt in the ether and moved, especially around others that are in resonance with you, I think it helps to move that into
does.
reality at a faster
It-
way.
Yeah, through witness, I think is where the weaving happens. That's an amazing analogy, I guess, or a label to put on it. Dream weaving. I'd never really, I mean, I'd heard it, but never really thought about it. So, wow.
And what a way.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And then just us talking about
Mhm.
this is really I think it's powerful. You know, we're creating a nice little vortex of we're talking about things that nobody else wants to talk about. You know, and it's I'm just grateful for every one of you here.
Aw.
In
We're
terms
great.
of the dream weaving, I mean, that is a beautiful way to create community, you know,
Yes.
among people that are going to go there. Because I mean, witnessing that whole the radio show last night, it was pretty awesome for me to see that process. I've never seen anything quite like that before. So I guess it's a thing, Angela, and I could see where it would be a very powerful thing if you become aware of it and use it consciously, you know, among more than a few people, or even with a few people like we're doing tonight. It's good.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think it's the same with our intuition. I mean, and not to go back to this topic, but rounding back to our first grouping, it's giving attention to and placing value on and putting trust in something. Whenever you focus on something, so Debbie, like manifesting, when you focus on something and you focus on it without doubt or that little, you know, devil on your shoulder telling you, oh, that'll never work. You know, you grow the belief and you grow your own consciousness to that. And it can't help but automatically connect to those who have the same resonance. So, gosh, I when we get off of here, I'm going to go back and listen to the first hour of last night because I'm really regretting missing that. But I think that that weaving, it is, but it starts with you. Like you have to come from a place of knowing within yourself and not questioning it, and not to say, I'm not going to question this. I'm not going to question myself. No, like really sitting with yourself and going, no, I know what I'm feeling right now, and owning it.
I think, yeah, it's like the faith of the mustard seed idea, sort of, you know, everything's there, you put your focus in it and water it, and yeah.
Oh, that's a really different definition of faith, isn't it?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah,
That's fine with me.
Yeah,
I always
faith-
wonder about faith.
Right. It's kind of the non-bastardized maybe idea of it. The alchemical part of it. Yeah.
Yes. And to me, it's most important for, it has to start within yourself. and for anybody that listens to someone outside of themselves and says, oh, I love that idea. I really feel that idea. I'd like that. I can see that. They're not going to be of any use to anybody else until they know that within themselves. And so for me, dreams, subconscious, connecting with superconscious, having that strong hold and base within yourself is what is essential before you can listen to anybody else. And it's taken me and I'm not saying I'm there, but I'm just saying that it's taken me a long time to just really trust myself so that I can even venture out and read anything else, listen to anyone else, take anybody else as real, because I had to find it in me first. It's know thyself, right?
Mhm.
Right. And I think also, I'm just sort of thinking of the dream weaving again. And also it's important really to know yourself enough, to discern what dream to join, if, which tapestry maybe you'll be weaving, to discern which bandwagon you might be jumping on, or, you think it might be a good bandwagon, but it might not be. I don't know.
Well, it probably is the right bandwagon if you're willing
If
to
you're
do
in
that
tune.
time.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's the only way that, for me anyway, I've jumped on a lot of different things, not outside of myself so much as like, well, yes, outside of myself, like in relationships, or it hasn't been belief systems for me, but just like, oh, I like how they say this, or I really appreciate where they're coming from. And then I will put too much effort or energy into it, or so much that I lose part of myself. And then I have to be, through that experience, I'm reminded, you kind of lost yourself there. You weren't paying attention to yourself, and you got all wrapped up in that other thing. And you really need to make your own ground more solid.
Yes.
Well, I guess
like-
I was thinking in terms of like the Q movement. That was kind of like
Mhm.
the leader started a dream and then it got fed into, and
Oh man,
so
I
think-
got wrapped
so
up in that
that's
for
kind
a couple of weeks.
right. I mean, it's it's your dream energy.
Yeah, but you had to do
You
that.
get to focus it. Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying that's a lot of
Yeah.
energy that we all have, right? And that we alone decide who focuses it, right? We alone decide which way the laser points.
You're right.
Absolutely.
The funny thing is that my daughter, when I started going off on that and I started sharing in the household, like, because I had never paid attention to politics or anything, and I just started going there, and my daughter, 16 years old, she's like, "You're fucking crazy. You're sounding insane right now." I'm like, "No, but just listen." And but I needed her. I needed her to bring me back. And if I hadn't had anybody here, who knows where I could have gone. I mean, I pretty much have faith in myself that I wouldn't have gone too crazy. But yeah, we need other people. I just want to make that important as well. It's not all just about your own fantasy world. You do need to connect with others, and that's why we're here. That's
Mhm.
what we're doing right now.
I was going to say, in regards to the radio show too, I keep coming back to this because it made such a big impression on me. It's not really about making that thing happen. It was just a beautiful painting at that moment. Now, whether or not it goes further is another issue. But for me, just to have that possibility painted and contributed to by so many people in such an organic way,
I
it
know.
wasn't contrived. It's wasn't like, now we're going to make a painting, or now we're going to do a group art project. It was so natural the way it just all came together. I've never seen anything quite like that before, but it's cool.
Oh,
That's the dream weaving in action.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I one thing I started thinking about when you guys were talking was it's really important to think about your surroundings when you go to sleep at night, because your subconscious mind can take things very literal. Like if you have, for example, if you're in a relationship and you have a painting of maybe someone gave you and you felt like you had to keep it, and it's kind of like a desolate, barren something, that is going to affect your intimacy and your dreams, or if you're single and you want to be in a relationship, but you have a picture of a single person hanging on your wall. Like our surroundings, our subconscious is still interacting with our surroundings when we sleep. So if you are trying to get clear about something, or there's something you want to bring forth in your life, or you just want to have a restful sleep to allow whatever dreams come through, it's really important to think about, do I feel supported in this bed? Do I feel, are the colors around me restful? Is it inviting in relaxation, or is it inviting in agitation or turmoil? Or like, it's never a good idea to have a pitcher of water over your bed because you can feel like you're drowning, and these things carry through into your dream state. So
Yeah, and waking state. And
waking state, absolutely.
yeah, I love to do scans on my house. I love to walk through my house and go, okay, something is not right here. What is it? And as I follow through, like, I move stuff around, I'll move pictures. I've got holes all over my walls because that picture of that owl over that particular thing that no longer makes sense to me. That owl needs to come next to me on the bed or whatever, you know. Beauty, aesthetics, what we keep around us is it definitely affects our sleep and our awake state, for sure. And I love feng shui. I love it. I think it's super important, and it is about the flow of energy, and it is about walking through and saying what serves me right now. And I'm moving right now, so as I'm going through my house, it's a beautiful experience that I'm getting to do because I'm weeding, you know, and there's so many weeds. I mean, I've been here for a decade, and I'm just trying to find what's important to me. And I'm on a new journey in my life. I'm not even sure what's important to me until I face it. But packing and all of that really, really helps.
I'm doing the same exact thing, Charlotta. And you know, it's important. It's like, is this useful? Does this bring me joy? And even sometimes something that brings joy or that you see as beauty, it may need to go. You know,
Yeah.
I actually got rid of a painting, a prize painting that I bought from an artist that I love. And I got rid of it yesterday because it's connected to memories of things that no longer serve me. And so I've had to let those things go. And, you know, I'm like, I don't want this in my space any longer. And yeah, I mean, it affects our dreams, and we have to let go, even if it's, you know, sentimental. There's a time and place to allow that to move on to. And I ended up finding someone who has been wanting a painting by that artist, and she actually paid me more than I even listed it for because she was so excited.
See,
and I was,
that's the ultimate. Like, I love it.
And so that's her dream, you know, that's going in her space, and that's bringing her joy. And, you know, yeah, but I think a lot of times people don't think about how their environment is affecting their dreams, you know, their daydreams, what they want to bring in their life, and how well they sleep or don't sleep. And there's usually a connection when you stop and bring awareness to it.
I have a giant dream catcher across from me. I can see it as I'm falling asleep. It's made from a hula hoop, and it does not work in the least bit. I dream every night almost, and lots of dreams all the time. So I think I'm gonna have to pitch this dream catcher out. Just get a new one. It's not working.
What do you want the dream catcher to do?
You know, I didn't actually set any intent when I made it. I think
Oh, you made it.
I made it. Yeah, it's a hula hoop wrapped with a twine string, and then I weaved the inside of it, and it's got chakra colors going up the base of it into an arrow, kind of directing the energy right into the center of it. And I always just wanted to make a giant dream catcher. I don't really want it to catch dreams, so I guess maybe it's doing its job. I like having my dreams. I like the insight that I get from them. I love the synchronicities that happen in my dreams when I see something in my dream the night before, and then the next day I immediately see a picture of whatever it was I dreamt or the person I just dreamt, and I love it. I'm like, okay, so synchronicities are bleeding over to my dreams now. This is my life. That's fine. I can handle it. And I go on about my day, and I love I've said that a lot, but I love dreaming, and it's
So what do you do with the dream catcher now? Now that now that we pointed it out, like what's the intention? And you've got the chakras going, so what do you, just curious. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I kind of am.
I might sell it or give it away, leave it hanging there. I'm not sure.
It's got all your nasty dreams hanging in it, Adrian.
No. I said it doesn't catch my dreams. It's done a poor job, a very poor job of catching.
How do you know
my
that?
bad dreams. Okay, so earlier we were talking about the warrior in us whenever we're dreaming. It definitely hasn't caught nasty dreams, because just last night I was, of course, going to sleep thinking about dreams because of the day, and I woke up in the middle of the night trying to punch somebody. So do we all do that here, or am I the only rambunctious one that has actually physically woken myself up from a sleep with my hand hurling through the air trying to?
I'm so glad you're sharing this. I will tell you that I've only experienced men that have done that, like, in my life. I've jolted, I've jumped, I've been ready to like pounce, but I've never slugged. So what the fuck happened?
I got pinned in by a group of people that were trying to force me to do something against my will. And my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm going to make this real expensive. And I mean, I just started trying to whoop butt, and I whooped myself right awake. And then I got to lay there for a minute and go, all right, well, that was interesting. I don't know how to take that one for interpretation, the night before a dream talk. So I thankfully went right back to sleep, and I immediately had a dream about a boat. So I was on a boat, weave that into the dream weaving, and then something about a pinball machine. And I woke up and went, okay,
wow,
I'm going on with my day.
So when you sat with that today, did you come up with anything about like what you were fighting for or against?
All right. Well, it was somebody was trying to give me a vaccination against my will. And then a bunch of people decided they wanted to help vaccinate me. And I guess with the current events going on in the world, that might be one of my deep-rooted fears of that could be where trajectory might lead eventually one day. And I'd be slugging too.
I'd be slugging too.
Yeah.
I feel you.
That's the only insight I got. And then the pinball machine, there's an electronic one down at the store down the road that sells this really good salad mix that I've been craving. So that's all that was about. I want the salad.
A pinball machine that sells a salad mix?
It's the big box store. I'm in the city now, so they like cram everything in the huge building. You could go get shoes, salad, and a pinball machine all in one go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I go for the salad.
That's funny.
It is funny. The pinball machine reminds me of like how I feel about life a lot of times. So I relate to that one. It feels like I'm just kind of fighting the weight of a ball that's going to drop no matter what.
Maybe in your dreams tonight, Adrian, you should ask if the dream catcher belongs to someone else. Like maybe you made it for someone and you'll get a message or something. I don't know.
Oh, I did have some inspiration when I was creating it, so I might not even need to ask. I think it probably already needs to go somewhere else. Just you just saying that reminded me.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Funny how that always happens, isn't it? when we
Yeah.
talk about something, it's like we already know the answers sometimes.
Yeah, back to needing other people just to simply remind us, just to guide us with what we already know. I really do feel like it's always about just remembering. It's just about remembering.
Yeah, totally. We know a lot that we need to know, and we just have to remember.
It's
You
so
know,
funny. Go ahead,
oh.
Deb.
I've had this recurring dream for years, on and off in various forms, and it always involves waves, and the waves start out calm and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they're overwhelming. And that's been a theme in my dreams for a very long time. I haven't had that in a while, but it's just it's kind of archetypal, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
In life, we wait for things to pile up. My mind went immediately to my mom. Like, she will just take and take and take silently. And I used to too. This is how I know it so well. One wave at a time until it gets so much to where that barrier is broken and you can no longer take it, and just it crashes in. So I think it's about boundaries for me anyway.
That makes total sense. Yeah, that resonates.
What I was going to say before, and now I'll see if I can try to get back there, but I'm not sure I can do it. It was something that you said, Debbie, right before you and I were both going to say something. See, these thoughts are so fleeting for me, but we talk and we have these conversations, we get to the peak, and then it comes to a silence. And sometimes it feels like the silence is more important than trying to say, and trying to fill the space. And maybe that's when you started talking about waves. I don't know. Damn. See, I moment to moment, y'all, moment to moment.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because I think of that often during all of these various kinds of Zooms that we attend,
Mhm.
I used to go to this group, and I don't know how you describe it. It involved many, many things, but it involved sitting around in a circle. And sometimes people wouldn't talk for like 15 minutes straight or half an hour if nobody had anything to say. And it was just, people sitting there being themselves, sensing themselves being their self, while other people were sitting there sensing themselves being their self, either talking or not. And there was usually a tremendous amount of energy in that. So I think
Yes.
about that sometimes in regards to these online situations.
I remember this somewhere in my lifetime, talking about that very thing. Who is going to be the one that stands up and says, just someone say something, damn it. And I feel like that would almost be me, like just wanting to address the elephant in the room. We're all sitting in a circle. Somebody needs to be talking about something. But maybe they shouldn't. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that I feel that.
And
Yeah,
Charlotta,
mine-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying there's so many elephants. Anyway.
Well, I think this might be the perfect time to invite James in to make some comments before the 2-hour mark is over.
Sounds good.
James, we've got this this awkward silence.
Well, I think it's an awesome topic. I haven't dreamed in years. I haven't consciously dreamed in years. But I think that Angela's right on when she talks about it being the first eye, and that sometimes the premonition is the same thing as dreaming. This is just one type of dreaming, but your premonitions are the same. It's lucid dreaming while you're either awake or asleep. It's the same thing. And it could point to the fact that your first eye Your first eye knew that John Lennon died because it experienced that reality. But your neocortex, your retinas, are 2 days behind. And that's how long the rest of your body is actually living its life after a buffer at the beginning. And that buffer is when all information is made available. So if you were rendering situations to the retinas that made the user, the pilot, fearful, the best way to inject data into the pilot's cockpit without freaking them out is to dress it up like a premonition or to call it a dream. And now the first eye is able, the amygdala is able to gauge how you are going to react if this wasn't a premonition. It's like a pre-throttle. And I think
That's interesting.
I think
Yeah.
that's really what happens when we go to sleep or even when we daydream. Is that really what's happening is your amygdala is going through all of the melanin receptors that were fired when it showed you the Grim Reaper and just began to systemically eliminate possibilities to figure out what exactly freaked out my pilot here. Was it death or was it death of their father? Or death of this. And so you find yourself daydreaming simply because your first eye is just trying to get a good gauge over what I can show this person, what I can't. And since it's always a dream or a premonition, you have a free pass, you as the pilot have a free pass to raise your hand while you're chained to the cave looking at the reflections on the wall. You can raise your hand and point and say, that one's not real. And guess what? Now it's not real. You feel better. You can continue through the vision. So it's a lot like that. So when we're asking our intuition something, the information is there, and the information is there because it already experienced it. That's why you knew John Lennon died. That's why I would know when I was a kid if my phone was ringing. I would know who was calling, who they were calling to talk to. I would already have that data. I would tell my mom in the car, the phone's ringing, it's Grandma. She's going to make lobster tonight. And she's in Florida. But that's the information that's already been transmitted. We're just waiting for the amygdala and the retinas for everyone to catch up. That's why I think kids have these abilities more, because they're not taught the social structure of, hey, don't be giving away what the future is going to render. We don't like that here. This is a surprise. It's that kind of thing. So it's a great topic, though.
So, James, I feel like in your description right now, and I may be missing something, but it feels like someone's missing. Like, who is in the pilot seat? We're talking about the information that's out there, and we're talking about the amygdala responding to it, and Amy's, going through and processing what the pilot can handle. Well, who is the pilot?
So in this case, I was referring to the pilot more as like your conscious self, the self that you all know. And what's behind the pilot, behind the amygdala, is your core, your singular source core that's receiving all data. But your pilot's going to freak out.
Singular source core, what is that?
So before the amygdala even gets to work, your pineal is listening to the perturbations of the universe, which means it has all of the information that's already there. But if it pushes it to your screen, you will freak out. You meaning your conscious self, the person that you think is you. Most of us don't really.
The person I think is me?
Yes.
Who is that?
That is a conglomerate.
What is that?
I would say that is a conglomeration of your neurological urges that are centralized into an agency that we call self. And it is 100% stored in the neocortex. However, it has roots that go down into our reptilian self. And so therefore are kind of seeped in the future. So we have a relationship to our intuition, but we can't like directly have a lens into it. It would set this whole place on fire. As soon as sun poured through that lens, it would burst all
Why
this
do
stuff
I
in
even
flames.
care about having this conversation?
I don't
Like,
understand.
why do I care? Why would I want to have this conversation? What
Okay.
is it driving me to wonder?
I believe that it's you are trying to become more and more comfortable in full source. in full sun of what's happening.
Mhm.
That's what I think is happening, but you're not there, nor should you be there. I don't think the goal is to be completely apathetic and just, oh, all this one.
Am I a robot? It just feels so impersonal.
I think you're a child that's being led into a very bright room, and the child's not able to adjust their eyes as clearly as the guardian that's actually walking you through the room. And if you could open your eyes and look at the guardian, you would be able to behold what that is, and that is you. That ultimately is you. You're the only one that has all of the insight into what does my child need to be able to render the world more accurately. But the child is run by pain. The child stops trusting its intuition because the intuition led me into pain once. But the intuition is like, dude, I had to baptize you in fire. What are you kidding? Why are you so mad? And so we have this relationship that gets splintered. That's why most of us don't actually trust our intuition. And so the intuition has to invade itself and constantly be giving us cues through dreams, through art, through our reactions to things, all of that stuff. So it's trying to develop a relationship with our conscious mind. But keep in mind, it wouldn't have the same kind of relationship as we would have because it's not really in a temporal... Because you are logged into your eyes and your ears, these things can get very loud and very bright. And because of that, you are immersed in a world that's very delicate, that's very, very dangerous for your sensors. You could go into clip. This other part of you doesn't have those intricacies, but sadly also lacks the fidelity, so it can't even have the kind of relationship that you even have with the world. It's much more reptilian. You're the one that has this mammalian pollination of blending with humanity and connecting with each other's witness in a fine way. Your reptilian is like, if something moves in front of me, I might swallow it if I feel I need to survive. If it was my child, that sucks. Oh well. My mammal will cry about it later. It doesn't have the same kind of wiring to where it feels the sensors as pain. You know, when we feel pain, we feel it because we are logged in as pilot into we're wired into this interface. So we're going to freak out a lot more about pain, while this other part of us, this guardian, is more like, I need you to move through this pain because
I just don't know who we is and why we have to have the guardian. Like there's something deeper here that I'm not. So by the way, you guys, it's the moon is in Aquarius. So I think this is an interesting discussion because it really always boils down to, James, you described the processes beautifully of how I could see it. I'm an Aquarius, so I feel or I can sense what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm sitting here going, what about me? Like, and I don't mean ego, identity, what that integrity that's inside of me. What is that? The thing that's urging me forward to want to be more. So when we kind of wrap it up into, and maybe I'm missing something, I'm sorry if I am, but when we wrap it into a process, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
And even me being an Aquarius, like I've done past life regressions and I don't have any. I don't even think I'm over this earth.
Well,
anyway,
I'll try one more analogy. If you imagine that you're strapped to the front of the forecastle of a ship, you were completely on the front of the bow. You could spend your whole life on the front of that boat, never having any idea that there was a rudder, that it even moved. You would call that destiny. You would say, this is just what life does to me. And you're always getting sprayed with salt, and that's your life. That you could look at that bowsprit, that figurehead at the front of your boat. You could look at that as the self that you think of all the time. The self that you want to take care of, the self that you need to feed, the self that you need to shame because they didn't eat well or because they didn't do their chores or whatever. That entire relationship is just that fountainhead at the front of the boat. And as you become more conscious, you start to tap into your keel. You start to notice there are these other things. But your first reaction is to say, that's not me, that's God. That sail is God, or that rudder is God, or that keel is God, or it's my guardian angel. You will do anything because you're still trying to learn the relationship of who you are. You are not a 4-foot long figurehead. you are a 49-foot schooner. You go all the way to the back. And not only that, but you have a rudder, and your rudder will never, ever, ever understand how much salt is getting in your eyes. It will never be able to climb to the front of the boat and experience that as you. It's not even its job. So we are learning to consciously find different pieces of ourselves that are all connected. You know, there's an orchid and there's a stema, and you were clung to the front of that stema, but meanwhile behind you are these giant petals. And we're going to disassociate from them and say that's not part of me, but no. Not only is that you, but you go all the way to the pot, you go all the way to the soil, you go below the soil. You're connected even deeper than you think you can, but because you're new, because you're brand new, all you're able to render is this figurehead on the bow of the boat. So the whole purpose would be to find yourself, to associate with yourself, to fully and completely understand who you are. And I think that's what dying is. When people are dying, I'd like you to imagine that the first eye knows, okay, I'm going to die. I'm ready now. We need to say goodbye. We need to call in the family. It'll be better day Tuesday because the pranic wind will make this more easy for me. They know all those things, and they can set up those final moments because they're no longer have to play that separation game anymore. They're ready to go. They've found their entire boat, so to speak. So they call in their family and they tell them, I'm going to die now. And everyone's like, why are you being so dramatic? And it's like, because I'm going to die now. It's just the way it is. It's just, you know now because you've stopped playing peekaboo, right? You've stopped that. There's no time for that anymore. It's time to pass. It's time to west. It's time to go westing, as the Egyptians would say.
It still feels so much like a process.
Yeah, like a growth process, right? Like something in a greenhouse.
Well, no. Whenever you're speaking, I'm seeing, cellular makeup. I'm imagining bacteria jumping on a cell and woohoo, riding it out. And that's where my mind goes as you're speaking. But it's still, God, I hate, this is so trite, but who is God? Like, what is the intelligence? What is it? And am I at mercy of that? Mm-hmm. And if so, that pisses me off. I don't want to be at mercy. Like I'm, and that's what this talk is about. This is me scrambling, trying to find some sort of control over what the hell's going on, some kind of semblance to move forward and have something I can stand behind. I spoke about integrity. Like, what can I hold to that makes this all worthwhile? But when I listen to you speak, although it's beautiful, it fucking makes me sad. But I
can dreams be looked at as the closest painting that we can get to standing in the presence of God almost?
No way.
I entirely
well, Charlotta, that should be the topic of the next one is what is the divine? Like, what is the sacred? What is that?
Yeah.
Well, Charlotta, I remember you in early on this conversation declaring with your own words that you were God. So your conversation just took you full circle.
Good catch. Yeah.
That was fun.
That's a good catch.
I will go in circles. I will go in spirals, and I will bounce back down, and I will bounce right back up. What's that?
I can relate.
I love it. There's no other way for me. Otherwise, I would be stagnant, and I would get curmudgeon-y or whatever. So I like to, yeah. But yeah, that's fine, James. Maybe you called it. Next week, ladies, think about it.
What is the divine?
Yeah, because that's a big topic separate from dreams, really. I mean, you could definitely say they're the same, but yeah, it's a nice deep
different
deep
angle,
chest.
different view.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, guys,
mind and heart.
that was an amazing little journey we just had there.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, all so much.
It was nice. It was nice to join you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys and
Thanks,
girls.
everyone have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Dream on.
Thank you,
Thank
Charlotta.
you.
Great job.
Right. Thanks, Charlotta. Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Everybody, bye.
Bye.
My apologies for this thing wasn't on DojoEarth Radio. It was on James Drew. And I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna move it over there though. The wrong button. So many buttons. Since I accidentally put this on the wrong channel, I want to take the time to invite you to subscribe to DojoEarth. We do a lot of different shows like this, and this is our Monday Moonsday Cast, hosted by Charlotta. And if you guys want to, that was our 3rd episode, and if you want to subscribe to that, we'd love to have you. And you do that by doing that over here on DojoEarth, with the exception of tonight, which accidentally was streamed onto JTrue. So I will be moving that. But there's the link there. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will